Hello and welcome to Friday Football with me, Luke Walsh. Joining me this week is Ashley Beckman-Whelan and Mr. Tom Townend. This week's top story is the Allianz abomination when Bayern Munich ran 5 goals past Arsenal in a 5-1 drought in the UEFA Champions League round of 16. Now, Ashley, as a fellow Arsenal fan, I'll turn to you first. What did you make of the annihilation?
Do I have to talk about it?
Yes.
It was painful, obviously, as an Arsenal fan. I was watching it, and the chain of events that happened from Koscielny coming off injured, and then 3 goals in the space of 14 minutes. It was really painful to watch. And as much as it was a defensive capitulation from Arsenal, it was an attacking masterclass from Bayern Munich, and we just couldn't match them.
Tom, as an outsider, your thoughts?
Well, I wouldn't like to drop the terrible cliche, but it was typical Arsenal. And as much as Arsenal were bad, we have to look at the actual tactical supremacy of Bayern Munich and how they just ran the show. Without even a bang out of form, Thomas Müller came on at the end and managed to show what he can do. And when we had Thiago Alcantara running the show and really showing why he was so highly thought of at Barcelona all those years ago.
I mean, again, a lot of people are judging Arsenal for their poor performance, but the focus should be on the skill and style that Bayern Munich showed off. Now, the main story that's emerged from that, of course, is the questions surrounding Arsene Wenger. One question to the both of you: Wenger out?
So I'm fully in the Wenger should just sort of stay and decide his own fate. Like, I think he's earned that right. As much as with the modern game, managers would go through a similar patch and probably end up losing their job. I think what Arsene Wenger has done at Arsenal, from the trophies at the start and the unbeaten season, the transformation from Highbury to Emirates, he has earned his right to call the shots. He's still an amazing manager. He's still one of the best managers in the country, easily. He gets his tactics wrong, but people do make mistakes, and of course you have teams that can come out fighting because they know that there are vulnerabilities. But I think he's earned the right. If he goes at the end of the season, I'll be disappointed, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Well, as Arsenal fans, you really have to ask yourselves, who's going to replace Wenger? That's the big question, because obviously there's not really a great plethora of managers out there who can come in of his caliber to come in and replace. Who would you say? The only one I can really think of, who maybe would be really good for Arsenal to maybe insert some steel into them, would be Diego Simeone. But would he leave Atletico Madrid to come to Arsenal? He's talking about really his main goal is to go to Italy. That's what he sees himself.
Well, actually, speaking of Italy, I guess one of the other ones is Max Allegri, who's the Juve manager. Both of those are proven winners. They've both won the league in their respective countries, and I'd be happy to see either of them come in. But I think because I guess as well, like, there's that nostalgia because I've grown up, from the age of 6, all I've known is Arsene Wenger. So, I think it would be hard to see him go. But then,
would there be a free fall afterwards?
Well, maybe. I mean, you
like
look
how
at,
Ferguson when he left Manchester United.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially with the contract situations with Alexis and Ozil at the moment, it could potentially implode, and there could be a hard way back up for Arsenal.
Yeah.
In the other Champions League shocks was PSG beating Barcelona 4-0 on Tuesday night, literally breaking the hearts of Messi, Suarez and Neymar. Your thoughts on that one?
Who saw that one come in? Like, I think PSG were always capable of winning. I didn't think they could. I thought that Barcelona would completely outclass them, and it's Barcelona. They're almost unstoppable sometimes. But the nature of the defeat, to lose 4-0, that's incredible. PSG haven't been the team that they were last year when they had Zlatan sort of leading the line, but I think 4-0 was just amazing.
A real emphatic show from PSG. You weren't expecting it. They're not even top of their division at the moment. But even at the same time, we're talking about they've got a striker in Edinson Cavani who scored in pretty much every single match he's played this season. You've got some very talented players there. Di Maria, you've got Verratti, Matuidi, all world-class players on their day. So really, it's a shock, but at the same time, PSG's dream is to really is to stamp themselves on European football and make sure that they are a successful team on that, because domestically they've shown what they can do. So this was a emphatic win for them.
Looking ahead, this weekend is the 5th round of the FA Cup, with Lincoln City going away to Burnley and Sutton United taking on Arsenal on Monday night. Your thoughts and preview to that game? Is it a big one?
Do you know, it's funny, I was looking at, I saw a tweet that went out just before the Arsenal game on Wednesday, and it was like the contrast of the two matches. You know, we were going from sort of 70,000 seater stadium in the Allianz Arena to a 3,000 seater stadium at Sutton, and you know the cost of the teams and the cost of the wages, and it's a funny old game, football, isn't it? How you can go from one extreme to the other. I think Sutton is one of those sort of beautiful dream FA Cup runs. It's amazing to think that by beating Leeds in the last round, they go on and face Arsenal, that's a final for them, isn't it? You know, there's no way that the rest of the season could top.
But on the back of losing to Bayern Munich, could it be an important game to win?
Oh yeah, there's no two ways about it. Like, with no disrespect to Sutton, it should be an easy win. It's a must win. Like, you'd seriously question Arsene Wenger if he couldn't even get a win at Sutton.
I think Arsenal Fan TV would go. It'd be too much, really.
Yeah.
But you do have to look at Sutton. They have got a lot of stalwarts from the Football League. You've got players like Nicky Bailey, who's done very well at teams like Middlesbrough and Charlton when he was in the Championship, one of the best midfielders in the Championship back in the day. And you've got other players like Craig Eastman, former Arsenal. So there are players there that could potentially damage. And really, I just want to see their reserve keeper get a run out, because he's a big lad. He might be
a big lad.
That would be interesting to see him potentially have to go against Alexis. See if Alexis maybe bottles it again in the penalty.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the goal that he scored was good following the penalty.
It was a fantastic finish.
Another key fixture is Wolves against Chelsea. Now, Chelsea last Sunday dropped 2 points at Burnley at Turf Moor, when no one was really expecting that to happen. Do you think Antonio Conte's men should be worried, or do you think it's still full steam ahead to win the double?
I mean, the FA Cup is the FA Cup. Anything can happen. You know, there are the giant killings. There are the shock results. I think the Premiership is easily theirs to lose. You know, you got to think this is a side who have lost once since they lost to Arsenal back in October. You know, to even drop points was a surprise. And Burnley aren't an easy team to beat, admittedly, especially at home. But you know, Chelsea are so on form, and you look at Wolves, and they're not at it at all. I think they're on the back of 3 straight defeats.
One to my team,
one to Newcastle, yeah.
Newcastle United.
So I can't see anything but a Chelsea win there. I'd be very, very surprised if Wolves' name is still in the hat come Monday night.
I would say that the draw against Burnley was a good draw for Chelsea, really, because a lot of teams
for Chelsea.
I'd say it's a good draw. I wouldn't, because at the end of the day, it's not going to be easy, but they could have easily just rolled over. They could have lost or something like that. But I think it's a good draw in the long term when you look at the fixtures, because I feel other teams, maybe a Tottenham or someone, would have lost in that kind of situation.
Well, when you
in
consider
that kind of environment.
When you consider Manchester City beating Bournemouth 2-0 on Monday night to close the gap to 8 points, you'd think that towards the end of the season, if Chelsea do throw away this lead, it would be this fixture that they would look back on and note that put 2 points dropped where they could have needed it.
There's probably other fixtures that earlier on in the season when they weren't really on the form, when they lost to Arsenal
yeah, that's true.
And teams like that. This could be a downfall for them, but I wouldn't say it's the be all or end all of their season. A draw at Burnley it's not the worst result in the world.
I'd also say, actually, in the context of it, it's also a point gained rather than 2 drop, because if you consider that before Man City won, Tottenham were second and they lost to Liverpool. So actually, they're edging further away. You know, so long as the teams underneath them are when they're playing each other, they're dropping points. You know, it doesn't matter how they're getting on realistically. You know, it's a 10-point gap. It can be done. It has been done when Man City chased Man United, and obviously that famous Aguero.
Yeah,
you know, that season there was a 10-point gap with less games to go. So it can happen. I can't see it happening though, and I don't think dropping the points at Turf Moor is going to have any impact on the name on the Premier League title this year.
Well, again, as you're discussing about the other side of North London, Spurs lost 1-0 to Ghent in the Europa League on Thursday night.
What a shame.
Now, again, do you think the focus is different on both sides of North London? With you could argue with the different calibre of the competition between the Champions League and the Europa League. But do you think with Mauricio Pochettino coming out saying they want to win the Europa League, do you think that they can actually achieve it?
Well, they put a team out that they thought they could definitely win. That was pretty much a first team. There were a lot of questions. Redknapp wasn't exactly happy that they were playing Dele Alli on the left wing, but you would say that was a team that really could definitely compete with Ghent. Ghent have lost their best player in Ndidi to Leicester, and it was a winnable fixture for them. But Tottenham have been quite weak away in the Europa League this season. They've based a lot of their form on the home results, so you would expect them to probably nab the result in the return fixture.
Yeah, I mean, I found it to be a surprise because, Tottenham. I could easily see Tottenham going on to win it. I could easily see them at least getting to semi-finals. They are a strong side, and they've only got stronger over the last few years. But they do have that weakness that, once they lose that confidence, they tend to go on this sort of downward spiral. And I think the loss to Liverpool last week definitely had an impact on that. And it just shows last season being a perfect example of how they were so far ahead of the rest of the pack, and we were saying before we started recording that how have they managed to become third in a 2-horse race, and it's such a typical thing for Tottenham to do, is to bottle it in this way. And if results don't go their way between now and the return leg, I can see them losing even at home. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well, an interesting factor as well is that they are due to move into their new stadium quite soon. Do you think, again, are they going through the same sort of transformation as Arsenal did, or do you think the criteria is different at White Hart Lane?
I think Tottenham have put themselves in a very, very strong position to survive moving stadiums. I think financially it's difficult, and it was shown with Arsenal how you can do it successfully. But it's been shown with other clubs that moving to a new stadium can mean you suffer, because obviously you struggle with the finances in the transfer window. So at Tottenham they've managed to build that strength in the youth team. You've got even Harry Kane is not an old player at all. He's 24 or something. Dele Alli is younger than I am. They've got all of these players who they seem like these players who have been going around for years, but actually they're all still really, really young, and they're all still learning and growing and getting stronger and stronger. And actually, the fact that Tottenham were competing for the title last year is completely deserved. They've worked so hard, and they've built up this really strong squad. And I think Pochettino's a great manager as well. What he did with Southampton was amazing. What he's doing with Tottenham is amazing. I think they've got the foundation to challenge. I think last year would easily have been their best chance to go on and win it. Obviously, no one saw Leicester winning it. But Tottenham had a real good shout last year, and this year they've kind of slumped a little bit. I think it shows that overall teams have been performing better this year than they did last year. So at Christmas, Arsenal were ahead on points of the previous year, but 3 places lower. And it shows how much higher the quality is this year. And the fact that Tottenham are still keeping up, they're still in joint third place at the moment. It just shows that they are still there to compete. And I honestly believe Europa League is a fantastic opportunity for them to win a European Cup.
My thanks to Ashley and to Tom. I've been Luke Walsh, and until next time, it's goodbye.